Hello, everyone. If you can hear us, it'd be great if you could say yes in the chat box. That would be helpful to know. I think I see. Fantastic. Great. So we are going to get started. Please feel free to chat in your questions and we'll do our best to respond to them. This is a new format for us, so bear with us as we go through this webinar. And again, if there's any information you'd like to reference at the end, we will be, you should be able to see it once it's all recorded. So some brief introductions. If I can change the screen. It's not changing. I think bear with us. There we go. So I am Wendy Garay, and I am the Senior Associate Dean of Studies at Barnard. I also serve as First Year Dean and Dean for International Students at the college. And I'm joined here by my colleague, Diana Sousa.
Hi, I'm Diana Sousa, and I am the Program Manager for International Programs.
You'll see a few other names on the screen. Mark Farrell, who's our Senior Program Assistant, and he is dedicated to working with international students, and also Ryan Hatta, who is our Graduate Assistant, and will be joining us in a few weeks to help throughout the length of the academic year. And so today we'll be chatting about iPOP, which is essentially, I never want to call it orientation. So it's a pre-orientation program dedicated to international students, and it's intended to help students, again, navigate Barnard and New York City. It's also an opportunity to learn about the ins and outs of the Barnard classroom, any practices that are unique to the Barnard classroom, and also resources across campus, which there are many. And lastly, it's always great to meet your international peers before the start of school, and so you'll have a chance to meet them, as well as other student populations that arrive early for a variety of reasons to help out with the larger college orientation, or RAs, resident assistants that will help you in the dorms. So all sorts of students come in early to help make your transition to Barnard smoother, and hopefully a positive experience. To give you a sense of the students that participate in iPOP, all of the students, all the students identify as international, and I would like to qualify that. We have students that are international because they're on student visas, either an F1 visa or a J1 visa, but we have other students that may identify as international because they have dual citizenship, or they may have lived abroad for a significant amount of time, and those students are also welcome to join us for iPOP, and typically they RSVP separately. Students on visas are required to participate in this program, and it's not only a requirement to attend, but they must continue on to the larger college orientation called NSUP, the New Student Orientation Program. So please keep that in mind, that iPOP does not replace NSUP, and that they're very different programs. So as an international student, you will be helped by attending both. The other thing to keep in mind is that the iPOP programming is really intended for students. So we understand that families may be around the weekend of iPOP, and we certainly want to meet them when you check in and move in, and when we do our farewells. But during iPOP programming, you should really plan on being with your student peers, and planning for family activities outside of program times.
Now let's talk about the very exciting moment when you arrive on campus, and we'll be ready to receive you. And so you are all at this point planning to arrive on Friday, August 24th. Your check-in and move-in is going to be between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. and you'll meet us at Barnard Hall. So when you enter through the main gates, the building right in front of you is Barnard Hall. There are going to be check-in tables there. And when you stop at the check-in table, you are going to see 3 tables. So there will be a table for the Office of International Programs, a table for residential life staff, and also a table from Citibank for those of you who might be interested in opening a bank account right on spot. You'll be able to collect your iPOP materials at the table from international programs, and then you'll collect your room key and your student ID from the Res Life table. If you have not submitted your photo prior to arrival online at the Columbia website, then you're going to have to go to the Columbia campus. We'll tell you exactly where it is. There is a photo ID office, and you're going to have to go there to get your picture taken and then get your ID. There are going to be moving carts available. I know that most of you will probably only have 1 or 2 suitcases, but if you think the moving carts are helpful, they are going to be available. And we are going to have some student volunteers directing you to the dorms. The staff at the Res Life table is also going to be able to provide information on how you get to your rooms. In case you're not staying in the quad, they'll give you information on how to get there. For those of you who, for some reason, are going to be arriving after 4 p.m., it might even be that at this point you're planning on arriving before that time, but let's say, for example, your flight gets delayed, you are going to be able to collect all of these, your key, your student ID, and the iPOP information from the Barnard public safety window, and that is exactly in the same building. So Barnard Hall, when you enter, you'll see the window to your left. You just give the staff your name and they should be able to give you your materials. There is not going to be anyone available, so doing check-in at that time, but they will be able to give you information on how to move to your rooms. When you arrive, for those of you that are on F1 and J1 visas, this is very important information. We are going to ask you to have handy your passports, and if you are on an F1 visa, you'll have your Form I-20. If you are on a J1 visa, you'll have your DS 2019. We are going to keep those documents, so please have them handy when you arrive. And I want to explain what is the reason for that. So as a school that receives students on F1 and J1 students, on F1 and J1 visas, there is information that we have to collect. And so we are going to hold on to those documents to make copies and to take care of your registration in the immigration system. We are going to use those documents to also print what's called your I-94 records, which is a very important document that you don't see. But basically, it used to be something that was stapled to your passport in paper. And now, for most of you, it's going to be an electronic record that is generated by customs once you go through customs entering the United States. So we will print your I-94, we will make a copy of your passport and a copy of your Form I-20 or your DS 2019. We just ask you to have your passport and the other documents, depending on what visa you're on, available. And then we'll return those documents to you on Friday when we all get together at the welcome dinner in the evening. Then during the first week of class, after we complete your CVA's registration, we are going to issue you a new document. So right now your document says initial, or it says transfer for those of you coming from another school in the US. The new one is going to say continued attendance, and that's the one that actually proves to immigration officers that you have indeed arrived in the US and that you have registered for classes. But we'll give you more information on this during iPOP.
Okay, so we want to take a moment to review the iPOP schedule to give you a sense of our expectations in terms of when you will be dedicated to programming, and then when you have some free time so that you can go ahead and plan around that. So students are invited to arrive on campus between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. If you were to arrive before 10 a.m., you may see, again, folks on campus because the college officially opens at 9, but we will still be prepping in some way. So you're welcome, again, to have a seat in Barnard lobby, and we will check you in as soon as possible, but preferably you would arrive between the hours of 10 and 4. And as Diana mentioned, if you happen to arrive late for any reason, our Barnard public safety officers will be aware and expecting you and able to give you your materials and room keys so that you can settle in for the next day. The only activity that we would ask that you attend on that night of Friday, August 24th, is the welcome dinner. It is not only an opportunity, again, to meet all of the international students that just arrived, it's also an opportunity to meet some key administrators on campus, so deans, directors, basically people that you will have a lot of interaction with over the course of the year. So we wouldn't want you to miss that dinner. Beyond that dinner, you are free that night because we understand many of you have traveled quite a long way and will be perhaps tired, or again, maybe having some final activity with your family before they head back. So for a variety of reasons, we want to give you some free time that evening. We encourage you to get some rest because on Saturday, August 25th, we have a full schedule. As you can see, we will be having information sessions and social activities. You will be served meals that day, brunch and dinner, but it's essentially 11 to 7 p.m. We are going to know each other very, very well by the end of that day. But again, it's all critical information to help you have a great start at Barnard. And then on Sunday, on August 26th, we have a shorter day. We'll be together from 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. We'll do one last information session. We'll do our group, our class of 2022 photo. We will, again, serve breakfast. And beyond that, you would be moving on to the new student orientation program, which we refer to as NSOP. So again, your activities will continue, but the international program will officially end at 11:30 on the Sunday.
So about 2 weeks before you arrive, you're going to receive an email with information about who your global ambassador is. So let me tell you what is the Global Ambassador and what is the Global Ambassador Program. The Global Ambassadors are Barnard students that volunteer their time. They are very involved on campus and that volunteer their time to basically advise and peer mentor new international students. A lot of them are international students themselves. Some of them, because of their majors or because they're studied abroad, they're just very interested in meeting people from all over the world. And so what they do is they make themselves available to answer your questions. Feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have about Barnard, about classes, about New York City. It's not that they are going to have all the answers, but they're sort of your first resource, and they're very good at directing you to the right office or the person they think might be able to answer your question. Each global ambassador is assigned a group of around 5 students. We try to assign each ambassador a group of students that come from different countries so that your group is diverse. And then during the year, you get together for social activities. Feel free to let your GA know what you're interested in doing, what kinds of things you have as hobbies, or what you would like to explore in New York City, or if you have an idea, for example, of an event that you would like to see happen for international students. They're all open to ideas that you might have for programming, for example, or for outings. So you'll receive an email from your GA. Please respond. introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about yourself, and feel free to ask any questions that you have. I have to say that you will meet some of the GAs during iPOP, but some of them, especially because they're international themselves, they are still abroad and they'll be only here for the beginning of classes. So you will meet them later at an event that we're going to host in the first few weeks of the semester. It's going to be the International Student Meet and Greet. That's where you will meet the whole group. And right now we have 15 global ambassadors.
So a little bit more about our global ambassadors. You know, they are definitely a resource when it comes to navigating Barnard, but I'd like to encourage you, those questions that you may have. For example, I've had students who are perhaps vegetarian and they're looking for the best market in the neighborhood, or students that were concerned about particular things they might need to buy ahead of time, or that they might be able to purchase once they arrive in New York City, you know, to make their dorm room feel more homey, or those types of questions that aren't necessarily academic, that might be a bit more social or have more to do with just getting comfortable at Barnard. They're a wonderful resource. So I would encourage you that once you get that introduction email from your ambassador, that you not only introduce yourself, but maybe use that as an opportunity to have some general questions answered. They're really great that way. The other thing is that there will be programming throughout the year that they will ask you to participate in. The international students at Barnard really do have a sense of community, as does the larger college, right? We're not a terribly large college. So we ask for students, you know, to choose their activities wisely, but whatever you commit to, we hope you will follow through, because it's the only way for these activities and these programs to be successful. So again, the ambassadors will ask you for suggestions as to what kind of programming you'd like to see happen throughout the year for international students, but also opportunities for international students to meet others on campus, not just at Barnard, but perhaps across the street at Columbia. And so it's a great chance to be creative and get out there and meet others with similar interests during those first few weeks, and also throughout the length of the year, because they will be your ambassador for the length of the first year. Do you have any questions at this point?
I'm seeing a lot of familiar names, which is good. We can't see all the faces, but I know these names. Hi.
And somebody waves at us. Waves at Stephanie. So yes, the other thing to consider is, you know, I do think, you know, the holiday period is winding down in the international programs office. So, you know, if you have questions, we continue to be readily available to you. I think at this point, are all the I-20s relatively done? Yeah, so the I-20s are out. If you haven't received them, you should be receiving them shortly. So these are just general updates on things you should be receiving very, very soon. I will add, since we have a few extra minutes here, that in addition to being the Dean for International Students, I mentioned early on that I am also your first year Dean. So for me, that's a really positive combination, because I get to know you both as first-year students at Barnard, but also I have an understanding and a background in some of the things that you may be dealing with as an international student, or things that you might need to get done as an international student. So I want to encourage you to find me early on. You'll meet me at iPOP, but, you know, to come by the office, find me early on to have those conversations. Whether they are about being a first-year student and academics and things that may be coming up in that department, or about being international and requirements and opportunities that you may have with your student visa. So I feel very happy that I can speak to both of those areas, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and serving you in that way.
Do you have any questions?
Okay.
No, Daphne is saying all is good. No questions.
All right. Well, this again is being recorded, so if you need to refer back to it, you should be able to access it at your convenience. And for those of you that will see it later because of time differences, again, we're looking forward to meeting all of you very soon, and remain available to you by email and phone until that time comes. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye-bye.